Chastity or holy purity is sexual purity. Those who are chaste are morally clean in their thoughts, in their words, and in their actions. Chastity means not having any sexual relations before marriage. It also means complete fidelity to husband or wife during marriage. Someone who is chaste refrains from sexual activity that is either considered immoral or from any sexual activity at all, depending on their state of life. Chastity is a moral virtue that is related to the cardinal virtue of temperance, which is a virtue that connotes moderation or voluntary self-restraint. The chaste person maintains integrity of the powers of life and love that are placed in him. Chastity includes an apprenticeship in self-mastery, which is a training in human freedom. The alternative is clear. Either man governs his passions and finds peace, or he lets himself be dominated by them and becomes unhappy. The dignity that God put in man, whether male or female, requires man to act out of conscious and free choice. If it is lost, man's dignity is regained by ridding oneself of one's slavery to one's passions and pressing forward by freely choosing what is good. Whoever wants to remain faithful to his baptismal promises and resist temptations will adopt the means for doing so, and these means are self-knowledge, practice of the necessary self-discipline adapted to the situation that confronts a person, obedience to God's commandments, exercise of the moral virtues, and fidelity to prayer. Self-mastery demands hard work and a great deal of care. The Holy Spirit enables one whom the water of baptism has regenerated to imitate the purity of Christ. The virtue of chastity makes it easier to make friends with persons of the same or opposite sex. It shows the disciple how to follow and imitate him who has chosen us as his friends. Chastity is a promise of immortality. All the baptized are called to chastity. The Christian has to put on Christ, the model of all chastity. All Christ's faithful are called to live a chaste life in keeping with their particular states in life. That is, whether they are married, widowed, or virgins. Notice that I did not say married, widowed, or single. I said married, widowed, or virgins. Every single person should be a virgin. There's no two ways about it. But if you are single and no longer a virgin, you can regain holy purity by repenting of the sin of sexual immorality and humbly asking for God's help. There are people who just smile when others talk about holy purity or chastity. These are the very people who approach marriage with worn-out bodies and disillusioned minds. Saint Josemaria, the saint of ordinary life, says that there is a need for a crusade of manliness and purity to counteract and undo the savage work of those who think that man is a beast, and that work is a matter for me and for you. So many live like angels in the midst of the world. Why not you? When you resolve firmly to lead a clean life, chastity will not be a burden to you. It will be a triumphant crown. There are people in today's world who profess virginity or consecrated celibacy, which enables them to give themselves to God alone with an undivided heart in a remarkable manner. And others, whether they are married or single, live in a way prescribed for everyone by moral law. Married people are called to live conjugal chastity, that is, only one man and one woman forever until death does them part. No other strange bedfellows or women. The unmarried are called to live chastity in continence. That means no form of sexual activity. Even those that are engaged to be married are meant to desist from expressions of affection that are reserved for married love. The saints did it, and they are not abnormal beings. They are not cases to be studied by a modernistic doctor. They were and they are normal, of flesh and blood, like you and like me, and they won. Dating is an invitation to impurity and the loss of the virtue of chastity. More often than not, a date ends in all manner of sexual immorality and impurity. So, any Christian that is serious about living holy purity, holy chastity, should do away with dating and embrace instead wholesome friendships with people of the opposite sex without any form of sexual innuendos. These friendships can then mature into courtship and then from courtship into marriage. The period of friendship should be a period of observing one another, and then when one moves into courtship, the period of courtship should be a period of testing, a growing, a discovery of mutual respect, a period of apprenticeship in fidelity, a period of hoping to receive one another from God. It should be a period of helping each other to grow in the virtue of chastity, and not a period to tempt one another. If we only knew what we were worth. It was St. Paul who tells us that we were bought at a great price. And he adds, glorify God and carry him in your body. There are offenses against the virtue of chastity, and they are lust, masturbation, fornication, pornography, prostitution, rape, and homosexuality. Lust should not be confused with passion, and passion definitely is not lust. Lust is an immoral psychological force which destroys. Immoral because its object or action of affection is improperly ordered according to the natural law, and or the appetite for the particular object, for example sexual desire, governs the person's will and intellect, rather than the person's will and intellect governing the desire for that object. Whereas passion, regardless of its strength, is maintained to be something that is God-given and moral because the purpose, actions, and intentions behind it are benevolent and ordered towards creation, while also being governed by the person's intellect and will. Another offense against chastity is masturbation, which is sex with oneself, usually by oneself. For us to understand what is wrong with masturbation, we must understand the objective and meaning of sex. God created sex and gifted it to us with the purpose of making babies and of bonding between a man and his wife. When a man and a woman marry, they offer the whole of themselves to their spouse without holding anything back, and they are open to life. When they make love, their love is free and beautiful, not lustful. Masturbation, on the other hand, might give pleasure, but it is close to life. It does not promote life, and it harms one's ability to love another person because one is too busy bonding with fantasies that stimulates one. The Bible tells us that when we live our lives contrary to God's design, we harm ourselves. And after we have sought the company of sensual satisfaction, what loneliness we feel afterwards. And to think that for the satisfaction of a moment which have left you in the dregs of bitterness, you have lost the will. Masturbation is driven by lust and selfishness instead of the love and selflessness that is between married couples when they make love. Fornication or premarital sex is another offense against the virtue of holy purity or chastity. Fornication is the consensual sexual intercourse between two people not married to each other. If one or more of the partners in a consensual sexual intercourse is married to another person, it is then known as adultery. Either fornication or adultery is sexual immorality and is a sin against the sixth commandment of God. Pornography is another offense against the virtue of chastity. It is defined as any material of varying form, including reading material or texts, for instance, erotic novels or Playboy magazines, videos, photos, or audios that is consumed for sexual satisfaction or arousal of an individual or partnership. It offends against chastity because it perverts the intimate giving of spouses to one another. It does grave injury to the dignity of participants, whether they are actors or vendors or the public, since each one becomes a source of base pleasures and a source of illicit profit for others. Pornography is a grave offense which should be avoided and stopped. Prostitution, another offense against the virtue of charity, does injury to the dignity of the person who engages in it, reducing the person to just an instrument of sexual pleasure for another. The one who pays for such services violates the chastity which his baptism pledged him and defiles his body, the temple of the Holy Spirit. Rape, another offense against chastity, is the forcible violation of another person's sexual intimacy. Rape does injury to the virtues of justice and charity. It greatly wounds the respect, freedom, physical and moral integrity to which each person has a right. It causes grave damage that can mark the victim for life. Rape is always an intrinsically evil act. Another offense against the virtue of chastity is homosexuality. It refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction towards persons of the same sex. Homosexuality has existed in a variety of forms and in different cultures through the centuries. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained, but the Bible presents the homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity. Homosexual acts are contrary to the natural law, and they close the sexual act to the gift of life. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that people with homosexual tendencies should not be discriminated against. These people are also God's children, and they are called to fulfill God's will in their lives. And if they are Christians, they are called to unite the difficulties that they might encounter from their conditions to the sacrifice of the Lord's cross. Homosexual persons are called to the virtue of chastity, and by the virtue of self-mastery that teach them inner freedom, by prayer and sacramental grace, they can and should gradually and resolutely approach Christian perfection. We can ask Jesus to remove the filthy crust of sensual corruption that covers our souls, which covers our hearts, so that we can feel and readily follow the touch of the Holy Spirit on our souls. When confronted with the temptation that can cause us to lose holy purity or chastity, we should not show the cowardice of being brave. We should take to our heels. Do not forget to like this video, share it with your friends and loved ones, subscribe to my channel, and click on the link above for more videos on catechesis. Peace of the Lord be with you.